a master manipulator, is a narcissist. So we have to actually understand that all the tactics they used yesterday and the tactics they are going to use henceforth are not going to be just simple tactics that you have. This is a game. To them, this is a game. You see, they bring this proposal, they play around it, so that right now they want to redeem themselves. They want to gain the public. They want to redeem themselves, get public recognition, and they know easily that the most avenues that they could easily manipulate these our parents and the elder people. We have taken away that power from the churches to funerals, services, and harambes, and so on. So right now they are still restructuring, and the moment these people find a way of controlling the narrative, is that we won't come up with any other strategy that will work, because they already know. Right now they are dividing us amongst ourselves. If you go on Twitter, you'll find there are people that were called to State House, being given handout and whatever. But if some of them were not even given the handout, but some of them they were just called. So they will call you, document it, put it on public domain, so that you can keep on shifting they can keep on shifting your attention from the main agenda. Our main agenda is Ruto must go. Our main agenda is that his and all his cronies have to resign. And he has to before we do that, we have to reconstitute IBC so that we can recall all our MPs. So first of all, yesterday while we were on Kimunzi and Otero on the X channel on their space yesterday, we said that we have to start prioritizing those 10 key issues that we had already those demands that we had already given the government. So first of all is that within these 10 days that the president has said that he's going to reconstitute IEBC, is about time that it's not just about talking, that from now on, we are going to push that reconstitution of the IEBC, so that by the time the parliament come back from recession, is already 3 days have already elapsed since the president told us that in 10 days he will be reconstituted the IBC. So we have now to reconstitute the IBC, recall all the MPs, so that we can corner now the president. You see, as long as he still has the control of the member of parliament, I think in the Senate, the tone is changing, because now everybody now is trying to align himself with how the political dynamics are going. You see, most of the Kenya Kwanza.
Vex, sorry,
yes?
Vex, you need to start landing, because you have a lot of speakers who are waiting.
Okay. Let me just clarify by saying that they are aligning themselves with the ideas, with the dynamics of the day. So, and we have to make sure that these people don't look for another backdoor to exit. You see, Kenyan politics, and you all know how Kenyan politics works, is that once they reshape the perception, it will be very hard for us to have the voice. And before maybe I give another person the chance on the issue of Whitman and the West. These things have been going on for quite some time. You see, the first thing when Ruto came into power, that he started coming up with proposal of forcing people, you see, climate change and all that. But we all know that most of these things that this perception that are being pushed, and these are ideas that are being pushed on in Africa, in African countries, mostly Kenya, they know that once the idea penetrates in Kenyan market about the electric bike, but the electric bikes were the first idea that they were coming up with. They saw that they face a lot of resistance. So what did they do? Now they invested more in the climate change, because if you have to sell a product, a futuristic product, now you have to sell the perception first. So what the West are doing is that They are pushing. They know our politicians are greedy. So if there is any opportunity that comes with some goodies, they will first of all clinch to it without even thinking. And that's how IMF and the World Bank have set up the our economies to fail, because you look at that, most of the money that is in that are in IMF and World Bank.
Oh, Vex, I don't want to cut you short, but
okay.
we have a lot of people waiting.
So, yeah, just a minute. They belong to people who have already massively invested in in many companies like Tata, Toyota, and so on. So once the money lands in our economy, what do? They know our behavior. They know how we behave. We will steal the money and still go buy back their product. Buy back whatever. So the money lands in the economy, it goes back to where it came from. So the government will start now imposing those taxes for us to pay back the debt. But now the question is in balance. So no matter how much we will be taxed, that those debts cannot be paid. So we have to look for a new way of restructuring. After we have dealt with our political issues, we have now to start restructuring on our economic model, because this one surely does not work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Vex. And as you mentioned again, this appropriation bill has come into play again. I didn't know this information that it became law just a day before he announced that he had dropped the financial bill. So my question is, did he play all of us, especially the people who are fighting to drop the finance bill? Did he know exactly what he was doing, that once the appropriation bill became law, then we had lost that fight? That's very interesting. Thanks a lot, Vex. And I'll have to drop you for now because I have people who are waiting to come up to the speaker panel. Then you can always come up to speak after that. Thanks,
No
Vex.
problem.
We have 254 for life next, and then Shadrach, you've not spoken. I'm not sure whether you want to speak. So 254, you have the mic.
First, I hope I'm very audible. Maybe somebody can give me a hands up if I'm audible.
You're loud and clear.
Thank you, Mariam, for the space. It's a pleasure to be given an audience from your space. I've been on a couple of spaces since the whole protest began. So I'll begin by first sending my condolences to those who've been lost and the families of those who've been lost. I have taken a minute to kind of reassess, and I think you brought it up, that what should we now refocus this so-called movement on? And I believe we are faced with certain different challenges, and I look at it from an umbrella perspective. And I'll begin by something that Mizani said, and also Vex echoed, that one, it's a Kenyan problem. It requires a Kenyan solution. Basically, when we look at the West, I really don't think people in the US who are natives of the US and have citizenships are really worried about the problems in Kenya because they have a solution. And I say this because most of our politicians, if you go and investigate, most, if not all of them, actually have dual citizenships. So if things go bad, typically they'll fly away, they'll relocate, and they'll be good. So for the majority of us, we live in this country, so we have to deal with our own problems. Second of all, I'd like to mention something that I actually did a bit of research on, and this has to do with IMF and World Bank. I really do not believe they have ever helped any country succeed in any development. I have no case study to back them and say, okay, they did this project in this country and it came out successful. So I do believe as donors, they have, of course, the commercial mentality. They're here to make money. But also part of making money is they engineer their loans to keep you in a borrowing cycle. So by the time you're clearing off one loan, you need to borrow another. So you're always in a cycle of borrowing instead of actually developing. Number three, for my submission, I'd like to put an observation. I think you just mentioned it before I came on, that this appropriations bill has already hit. And I believe there's been subtle threats going around from the president and of course members of parliament that, hey, listen, because we didn't pass this finance bill, we're not going to pay these JSS teachers, we're not going to pay doctors that we promised we are going to renege on them, their return to work formula. And I believe part of the strategy going forward should involve professionals. Being a professional and being a millennial, I believe we all support the peaceful protest, but some of the challenges we face that we work in the private sector. So having time to go on the streets is not an option for us. We have real commitments to get to. And being a person who works in the manufacturing sector, I can clearly tell you that we cannot afford to have the protests because as a country, it actually impacts our operational ability. But also at the same time, I do believe that protests can be done in various ways. So some of those ways that I think we should be looking at is, for example, now that they're outrightly saying they're not going to pay the doctors and the JSS teachers, perhaps KMPDU and the Teacher Service Commission or the Union for Teachers should be looking at giving a strike notice if they're not paid in order to paralyze government. One of the other things I've also thought about in terms of a protest is we need to relook at our tax policy. Ideally, the reason why our president and the government is so hell-bent on talking tough and talking rough with people is the basic simple fact that for all of us who are employed, pay is a net given. So government it always has a guarantee every 30 days. There'll be pay as you earn, there'll be NHIF, there'll be NSSF, and tax will always come. So they have some benefits of guarantee that this thing will come. Now, I looked at it from a perspective of, is there a legal way, and perhaps this is a question to all the listeners, should we be looking at a legal way of changing this tax policy such that, one, if I'm an individual who lives, for example, in Kakamega County, just like one of the other speakers, should I be paying my taxes to Kakamega County so that I'm able to hold my county responsible for all the development? And then now my county can remit a portion of that taxes to the national government such that we now have real accountability on the ground. That's just the thought I'm having. Number two, being that I have family also in the US, I'm well versed with things like seeds and leads, where the government, if you develop a property, they'll build in the services and they'll give you a cost you can pay for a duration of time for those services. Perhaps possibly government can look at that as an option for tax policy so that we don't actually have to keep saying in the budget we have to put money aside for development. So that's a question for everyone. I don't know what the thoughts are on that. And finally, in conclusion, sorry, there's somebody who's on the mic. Perhaps they should mute.
Eric. Eric, please keep your mic muted. I've had to mute you a couple of times, Eric. So 254, proceed.
Okay, so finally, as part of my submission, I think generally from the umbrella outlook, I believe this is all political mind games. Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I don't know who else has their mic open because everyone else's mic is off. Okay, continue.
My mic is on.
Okay, thank you.
I can't hear you. You guys.
Sorry.
Okay, I've muted everyone. Kindly, please, 254 is speaking. Don't unmute your mic unless you're 254 because there's a lot of feedback. So 254, proceed.
Thank you, Mariam. I think for my final submission, just for everyone's maybe umbrella outlook, I think we could all be looking at. Sorry, Shadrach. There's a lot of echo.
Is it Shadrach who is speaking? Because everyone's mic is muted. I don't know. Let me see. Okay, just proceed.
Okay, so sorry, just to conclude quickly so that I drop the mic and let somebody else speak. I think the rationale for the thinking should be umbrella
cannot get
perspective.
You
guys. Okay,
sorry.
Kindly, just a moment. Who is speaking? Just say your name, please. Who is speaking? Because I can't see any other person whose mic is open. It's only 254 who is supposed. McKenna.
Maybe Mariam, what you can do, drop every other person except 254, and then you can be able to recover the space. That one will work. Otherwise, we'll be here for a long time.
I also can't see who is talking. There's someone whose mic is open, Mariam. I can't try to figure out who it is.
Mariam, drop everyone except 254.
Come again.
Okay, it could be 254 who's having actually issues, but 254 has asked a very important question.
Sorry, I'm still
I don't know whether
I don't have issues on my end.
But when your mic is muted, we are the space is very silent. Just try and mute your mic again.
Okay.
Okay, there's still feedback from somewhere.
Mariam, drop everyone if you can hear me.
I'm going to just remove one by one until I find the person. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, Mizani. Okay, good. So I think it's Eric, and we've had that issue with Eric before. So Eric, I won't be approving your mic anymore. So 254 proceed. And then McKenna, did you hear what 254 asked about collecting tax on a county level?
County governments collecting tax for national government.
Is that practical?
Yes, please. No, it's not.
Okay, let me clarify before my final
we'll come back to that. Is he still talking?
Yeah, now
I was struggling to hear him actually.
Sorry, let me clarify.
Sorry. He's just landing.
Yeah, can you hear me now properly?
I can't hear him. But I heard that part. Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Okay. So can I clarify, Mariam? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, let me clarify my thoughts on the tax collection aspect. You see, my umbrella thought is that when all this money is collected, it all goes into this so-called consolidated fund. And I think part of the frustration that every Kenyan is having right now is no one can account for all this consolidated fund. So we are always being told that Treasury is working and tapping into this fund, but no particular organization or branch of government can actually tell you at any given point in time how much is in this consolidated fund and what it is being used for. And this is why specifically you also saw a very heated argument between the senators when it came to the division of revenue bill, simply because we are all looking at bulk figures, and then you get a situation whereby one senator will tell you my county is getting less in terms of development versus another county, simply because there's a lot of ambiguity in what is collected, because it all goes into this so-called consolidated fund. So my thought is either we audit the consolidated fund or think of a different tax collection policy that can be more accountable, such that we are able to say, okay, people from this county pay this amount of tax, therefore they are entitled to development on certain parameters based on how much they contribute. That's just probably my example, and it's an idea, it's an open question. Anyone is free to give their submission on the same. Now, for my final submission, what I wanted to say before the echo was coming in was that I think the protest started nobly. I think the effort is very candid, and the efforts of all these protesters is not being lost, because they're fighting for something I think we all feel frustrated about. And I think from my perspective, one of the ways I'd like to look at it is, much as government tries to talk about this whole let's have a conversation, let's talk, the problem is, just like another speaker said, there's always going to be a brown paper bag pushed somewhere when you're talking to individuals. And I was very happy to hear that guys said, okay, can the president come on some of these spaces just to communicate to us. But I also find it ridiculous when we say that, or when they claim that they are relying on NIS to communicate to them, to tell them how the country is feeling, which I find is very obnoxious and very belittling. And from all the interviews I've seen since of the president talking since the protest started, I just think he's done a horrible job, to be quite honest. I think he needs a PR team, and if he was to hire a PR team, I don't think any PR firm in Kenya should take up that job, because he's always going to speak nonsense. And it is my humble opinion that, one, if we are to recall some of these MPs, what we need to watch out for is that if we are reconstituting the IEBC, we do not want our full Chebukati story again. Because part of the NADCO report, I think, mentioned that one of the things they wanted was an audit of that server. So ideally, we don't have quite confirmed figures from what come out of those servers. And much as people say, okay, this guy won, I can honestly say if you do a simple tally, even if you do a poll on Twitter, no one will give you an actual confirmation of those number of figures. And so we always have that doubt in the back of our mind that this guy is the president, yes. But even if you look at the Supreme Court ruling, which I also relooked, the ruling was that the evidence given was not enough to overturn the announcement of the result. It wasn't that this thing is definite and this was an actual win. It was that the evidence provided by the petitioners was not enough to overturn. So that language makes me feel like when this IBC is being reconstituted, it needs a much more condensed and much more vigil outlook from everyone. And for me, that from an umbrella perspective should be the focus next. Then finally, as a final focus, I think we should always look at how we also relate to foreign countries. And I speak this with all the respect in the world. I've seen a couple of people saying we want to work in our own country. And for me, I'm happy to work in my own country. I would not be happy to go in a foreign land where there's racism, where I can't enjoy the freedoms I enjoy in Kenya. So I'm happy to work in my own country. But when we trade with some of these foreign...
254, I'm totally enjoying your submission, but you have so many people who are waiting to speak.
Let me just conclude, 30 seconds. So
Okay.
what I wanted to conclude is to say that in every single transaction, when you sit with on the table with foreign people,
enjoying your submission, but you have so many people who are waiting to speak.
I believe we should be, yes, I believe we should just be sitting on the table as equal partners. So when you are trading with any foreign nation, any foreign party, let's talk from the same footing and not from like we are begging for something or help. And that's my submission for today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. You actually have very amazing pointers and suggestions. So I'm hoping that someone is taking note of them, because as you're agitating for change, we must have some tangible suggestions that would steer us towards long-term solutions or long-term change. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, McKenna, do you know which order we are going by?
There was I think there was John Momo. He's got his hand up, and then Shah had something to share before he drops. I know he spoke before, but he's got something to share before he drops. So John Momo, go ahead.
Thank you for this space. Can you hear me? Am I loud and clear?
Yes.
Is John Momo speaking, Mariam?
Yeah, John is speaking. You can't hear him?
I can't hear him. Let me drop and come back. I can't hear a lot of people.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Sawa. John, you can proceed, and let's try and make it a bit short, because we have people waiting on the queue. Just hit your major points so that you're able to move along. So, John, you have the mic. John, can you hear me?
Can I go ahead?
Okay, good. John, can you hear me? John, can you hear me? I don't know whether there's a problem with John. So we move to John. Can you hear me? That's the last call. Okay, fine. Let's move to Gray Marwa, and then DJ Climax.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. This is a very, very, enriching discussion that we are having on here. So I wanted to comment on the issue that the previous speaker was talking about, the issue of revenue and, what needs to be done regarding that. So, counties collect money, something called on-source revenue. So if you go to counties, they collect money in terms of, bus park permits, rates that people pay, and all these taxes that they collect at the county. But then what happens, this money is transmitted, to the national treasury, and now that's where the issue of, sharing revenue comes. So Article 209 and 210, speaks about those issues, how this money is allocated. And I know we've been having a problem in this country each and every year about how these resources are shared to the counties. So at some point, the National Assembly and the Senate, there have been infights about how much should go to the counties. But then I feel, in as much as, the previous speaker was trying to say that how can we ensure that this money gets to the national level before it's distributed, the problem we are having with the money that is collected, even at the county level, it's how the monies are utilized. For example, the level 4 hospitals and the level 3 hospitals in counties can collect money and spend these monies there. But then the challenge comes in how is this money spent? And so my point and how it should be taken up to the national government vis-a-vis it being spent at the counties, it's how we ensure that monies are spent properly. At the lowest level, like in the dispensary in my village, that is where we need to ensure that the committees that oversee the monies that are collected there, these monies are put into proper use and no misappropriation is done. Because at the end of the day, these people report that we collected this money, we spent this money at on source. There is a provision that allows them to do that. But then that's where we lose a lot of monies. And that's why at the end of the year, you hear counties saying we targeted to collect this amount of money, but we did not collect. So where does this money go? This money goes to those people who collect money, the revenue officers. We know them, they're our friends and family members. Some of them collect the money, but they do not receipt. They do not say that, we collected this money from these people who have shops, these motherfuckers and all that. So the main thing that we are having, that we should ensure that the monies that are made are given out by Kenyans, serve them, is to ensure that the money, the little that every county collects, this money should be put into proper use. This money should be put into use to ensure that Mwananchi gets the benefit of this money. Because you cannot tell me a county like Nairobi County cannot collect a lot of money. We've heard in the news, we've seen the Auditor General talk about it, that, things like GGPay, or was it called Pay, money was being lost through such systems. So the first step that we as citizens should push is ensure that that local dispensary in your village, that local hospital in your community, that local revenue office in your community, if they collect money, let us ensure that the money that should be spent at the collection point is spent properly, and the money that is sent at the county level is also spent properly and transmitted back to the national government. Secondly, I think this has been a discussion we've been having as a country. How much should the counties get? So you find each and every year, like counties are begging the national government to allocate the money. So they give them 400 billion, for example, that is a win. This year they gave them 400 billion. But can we ask, this 400 billion that goes to the counties, what does it do for the people? And what happens with this money that comes to the county? Because corruption was devolved. When we did devolution, the aim was to bring back, services closer to the people. But what we did at the end of it all was to devolve corruption. My point, that we need to ensure that the little money that comes to the counties, this money is properly used, and the little that we collect also at the counties, we ensure that this money is properly utilized by those that collect it. If we seal the loopholes for people to steal money, then we'll ensure that we get development and will not be having the challenges that we are having. So even if we take all this money and give it to the treasury, but we've not put in measures to ensure that the money is not misappropriated and misused, we'll still be having the same problem, that we don't have services, yet we collect a lot of money. That is my submission. Thank you, and I'm enjoying the discussion here.
Thank you, Grayson, for your submission. What is your take on 1 man 1 shilling, 1 man 1 kilometer, formula of revenue allocation?
I think that is something that we cannot achieve as a country, because that is a political statement that has always been put around that, we need to ensure that one man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. But that's not correct. I don't support it. I've never supported it. Because what essentially these people want to do is to ensure that places that have more people, more voters, more numbers, these people get more money, vis-a-vis us ensuring that we have something called equity. So mine would not be to support the 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, but to ensure that every person gets equity in terms of resources. And that's why we have, the Commission for Revenue Allocation. We also have, the National Planning and the Treasury Ministry that ensures that, there is planning that is done at different levels. So the main thing is to ensure that if you are supposed to get a certain share of the development money, get it. It doesn't matter how many people you have. Because these people are saying 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. These are people, I believe, who are hell-bent to ensure that specific areas are given little resources just because they don't have numbers, and other places get a lot of money because, hey, come on. This is a town, for example, Ruiru. It's been in the news every now and then that it has a very big population. It's because Nairobi cannot accommodate everyone who lives and works in Nairobi. So people, do what? Go and live in Ruiru. So you cannot say that take a lot of money and give this constituency, and I'm just saying this, for example, that give them a lot of money, but, another constituency that deserves to get even the little that they are currently getting, remove them and take this money to another area. Yet the place that you are saying 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, this place already has development. This place has roads. This place has infrastructure. This place has piped water. But then there is another place in northeastern Kenya. Yes, the constituency is very small. Yes, it has 50,000 voters, but there is demand, there is need, for them to have these resources coming to them. The thing should be equitable share of resources. Let's ensure that everybody gets what they should be getting. The parameters should be set. I believe the Commission for Revenue Allocation has those parameters. So the 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, this is a political statement, and it started in the last elections during BBI, during the NADCO report, and now, it's still coming up around. People want to say that, because we gave you more votes, give us more money. But it cannot be, you need to get money because of the number of votes. You get money because it's equity. Everybody should get a share of the money that we collect as a country, and every place should be developed vis-a-vis how many people do you have. Because I think, as I've said, political, they want to get more money because they have more votes.
That's a wonderful submission. Thank you, Gray. DiCapro?
You actually wanted to hear from Sha first.
Oh, okay. DiCapro, just a sec. Sha, please come in. I know
Okay.
you want to drop, and yeah, please.
Yeah, I want to leave you all with this spirit. Don't let it die. I'm 61 years old, and the generation before me were Pan-Africanists, and I consider myself Afrocentric. So that's something that definitely you guys need to look at is the colonial education. Do you have it, or is your education been revamped so that it is very centered, African centered, for lack of better words? I don't know if you want to call it Kenyan centered, but I think it is. Someone said that Kenyan problem is going to take a Kenyan solution, and I would offer this that it's an African problem because everywhere in Africa, the similar problems are happening all over Africa. It isn't, and if we don't begin to look at ourselves as a one people, and as working, integrating, and working, so that the solutions that you guys are coming up with now, it to me, it should consider so that the solutions that you guys are coming up with now should include
Just Linda, please mute your mic.
Jose, your mic. Should include, I hope, would include how you can work with integrating with other nearby countries or even countries all the way on the other side of the continent, if you can. And why? Because if we don't come together, then our countries, our individual countries, are going to be challenged with the. He can't hear me, I guess. Is going to be challenged.
Sorry, I had to mute everyone. Sha, you can unmute yourself and speak.
I think.
Okay, so I put in a jumbotron my community, and you guys would not even know this, right? I'm 61, right? So When I was a kid, they referred to our little area that was unincorporated as Little Nairobi. We was called Little Nairobi in the 70s. And actually, the people in the community started a junior college, African American, unheard of. We started our own junior colleges. It was called Nairobi Junior College, Nairobi High School, Nairobi Elementary School. So we were considered in the Bay Area. This is Northern California, right? The heart of Silicon Valley. Before Silicon Valley even started, this little community of 28,000 people, right? Isolated little black community about 30 miles south of San Francisco in Oakland, California, right? Was called Little Nairobi. I put in a Jumbotron, the kiosk or the sign for our little shopping center was called Nairobi Village, right? So we actually had a sister city relationship with Nairobi City. Our community, our area had but it was honorary. And we actually, formalized our city in 1986. We became a city officially.
Bro, Sha, I'm sorry, you have to wind it up because we have a real issue that we want to tackle before we close up this space, if you don't mind. I'm sorry.
So, and I'll land with this. Niger is going to be selling its oil or supplying its oil to Mali and Burkina Faso. Benin closed. They're having problems with getting its pipeline into the coast of Benin, where they have a pipeline that goes there. And so this is I'm bringing this up because it is a strategy that Niger said, well, we have they're importing all of their oil, their finished oil, their refined oil. Burkina Faso and Mali have an issue with oil, so now they're working it out where this region is working with each other, and this would not have happened if they had not come into this revolutionary kind of standpoint. And what I'm suggesting to you guys is that as you're reforming, because it sounds like you're going to break it down to the bare essence, and you're going to start over. And as you're doing that, you begin to look at doing things that would be unordinarily, you wouldn't think of doing it because of the fact that, you're not working with other countries, and that other countries are not having this type of relationship because of how they're positioned with taking loans from the IMF and developing as an individual country. So all I'm saying is that these are things to consider, is restructuring your education so that you deal with the bribery culture, you deal with the coon culture of because if you don't deal with that culture of coonery, it's not going to go away. You're just going to be replaced by young coons, right? And so that has to deal with your education, and also has to deal with the stuff that you guys are talking about. You're talking about specific things, and I know you're going to get to it, but I just want to encourage you guys to keep that in mind, that it starts with the spirit of
Yo, Sha, I'm sorry. I think I totally do get your point.
right.
Because
And
it
I
sounds
thank you
now
for
like
letting me submit thank you for allowing me to speak, and know that you have brothers and sisters all over across the world that align with these ideas and with the city of, I mean, the fact that we even know about, we've been in alignment with it. So just keep that in mind. Thank you again, and power to.
Sha. Asante sana.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cha. Thank you, Asante. Maybe, Mariam, we can go to Victor. Victor has been here for quite some time. The other guy has dropped. So, Victor,
I think
you have.
sorry, I think Mkenya also wants to speak. Yes, Mkenya?
Oh,
Yeah.
Kenya wants to speak, yeah?
Yeah, so I hope I'm loud. Mariam, ninasikika?
Kabisa.
One thing I've noticed with every space, whether it's from yesterday or since the protest began, Wakenya ni watu wa mipango. Kenyans are people who are full of ideas, and Kenyans ni watu wa kuongea. One thing is why since the conversation started we have been ignored. We have been ignored because wanajua you all the only thing that you do is the talking on spaces and everything. No one had ever seen you guys going to the streets over this. The other thing is, most of you Kenyans mkianzanga kuongea, what I've noticed in the spaces, you guys huwa mnaongea ni kama tu mmeland from Mars, just the nini jana jioni, and all of a sudden, it's like we are trying to discover our problems. No, one thing we need to know, like we have our we already know, we all know our problems. Tunajua shida zetu. That's one thing that we know. Okay, are our problems being addressed? Hizo ndo vitu zenye that should be what is shaping our conversation. All these ideas, mnataka sijui, I don't know, to fix this, I don't know, we collect revenues. No, we already know where our problem is. When the president was talking, alikuwa ashasema, yani you could hear him akisema, is the offices of the first wife, those ones are going to be taken away, or we will reconstitute the IBC. And hizi vitu alikuwa anasema, let them, they are going to happen within 10 days. Kenyans, I want everyone to understand, the reason why we are on the streets is the ideas and the conversation that we've always tumekwanga tukiongea, they don't work. You get, so if you are providing a solution, we are providing a solution for how are we going to hold at a mandamano that we are going to deal with the goons tomorrow during tomorrow's mandamano. That's the conversation. Then the other people are saying, you know, we can't, we need to focus on this, we need to focus. No, have we achieved in Elitupeleka? Is reject finance bill achieved? It is not achieved. You get, mko so much on let's tackle one problem at a time. But okay, yes, we are going to tackle one problem at a time. But have you achieved anything? You get, the only thing that I'm telling you guys is, yes, now they have recognized, okay, you guys can go to the street. It's just recognition. Let's not differentiate a recognition to with solution. Those are different things. And I truly understand while when you feel there is an economic hit, there is, you know, there was vandalism and everything. One thing I'm going to say, there is a price. When I'm out there or whatever that I'm doing, I know I can even pay with my life for this, for what is happening now. Those are some of the facts that I'm making peace with. I've made peace with that. I can be out there and a bullet can be onto me. I can be wherever I am. Na bado nitachukuliwa. But those are things I've made peace with. I've made peace with that. But where am I making peace with that? It's because I want a better place for thriving. So anyone, if you are making a suggestion, if you have an idea, do you have an idea of a peaceful demo tomorrow? Do you have an idea? Because the reason why I'm saying this, conversations serve a different purpose in this in this move. Demos serve a different purpose. Because we've done conversation since 2002, when I can remember politics well, since 2002. Only my part. I don't know people who are there in 1992 what you guys did, but I know we've had conversation. Let demos be there to make sure that when we are saying now we are ready to have a conversation, at least within these 10 days things have been done. You know, hizi mambo ingine, hizi ideas zingine mnaleta, msijali. Tukifika huko kwa kuleta hizi ideas zenu, guys, don't worry, we'll call you. Tutawaita. Right now is, how do we have a peaceful demo? Are we going to go out tomorrow and say, mimi as Mkenya Daima, I'm volunteering to serve as part of the people who are watching the procession on the side, with the rest of other guys that can volunteer. The same way medics volunteered themselves, the same way the lawyers have organized themselves and volunteered themselves to make sure that we have a successful demo, and the demos are serving a purpose. They are serving a purpose, and if this regime can only listen to us through us being on the streets, then we are going to be on the streets. You get, any other person who is having his ideas usijali, tutakuita. Tukifika place ya kupeana ideas on how to rebuild this country, usijali, we are going to call you now. We are going to call you. We really appreciate those good ideas that you have. I know you guys have many ideas, but the only problem that we have at hand that is hijacking the tool that we can use for communication, which are demos and protests. It is the goons. So how do we handle the issue of the goons? Mi mnashindwa akili aje na watu kama kina Sudi. You guys joke too much. Now all of a sudden they are goons, and now we can't tackle goons. We are going to other things. Hizi zingine mimi nasikia mkipeana ni story. Na poleni kama nawasomea. I know people, there are people way older than me who can also be my parents, and there are also people who are my age and everything. That is not the purpose. It's that the only problem that we are having, and the only thing the government seems to be responding, they are responding to demos and protests. Then how do we shape what is affecting the demos and protest? When we get to a point where we can feel like we have a conversation, we can only have a conversation if some milestones have been achieved. That's all I wanted to say. Let's have conversation in that side. Hizo ideas zingine za collect revenue, hizo ni siasa. Usijali, we have experts for that. We are going to sit down na mtaleta hizo ideas then. Right now, let's shape the the nini for tomorrow. Let's shape the demos for tomorrow and the demos for next Tuesday and next Thursday. By next Thursday, which will be it may elapse 10 days. If Ruto will have not responded, then we'll know. The stories are jaba na just normal stories in tumezoea until we fix the country. That is the point. We are not doing the demos because we want to ban the country. We are not saying Ruto must go because we want to create anarchy. No. We are telling you, Ruto, you must go because you are not fixing the country. Start fixing the country. Then we'll start having a conversation. That is what we are doing. Then when you are saying we are not giving a room for dialogue, kwani nini kufaya yes na nini kwani happen kwa table. So you just do it, make that order. You know, do what you can do. Then now when you've done that, people can be in a position to have conversation. Mari, I'm sorry if nini nafinyia watu sana, but let me give a person chance. Yeah.
Kenya, before you drop, you know, I know we that is the main agenda, but having these ideas it helps those people who are protesting know at least the bare minimum. What are we looking for? What are we looking to achieve? So we have we also need to look at the problems, because we cannot just go onto the streets when we don't know what the problem that is facing Kenya. Isn't that a good thing to discuss also in Kenya?
So what I'm saying is it's good to have these conversations. They are really good conversations, and I'm not watering down the conversation. What I'm saying is, how are we shaping the problem that we have at hand? The problem that we have at hand is goons, and remember, the goons are not appearing in today's protest. These goons are going to be there in 2027. That's something that has been happening. You know, if we are going to fix problems, let's fix problems once and for all. Let's fix problems. Let's be able to think, strategize, and if we are thinking and strategize, because right now Kenyans have gotten to a point whereby to take this as place your civic education. So hakuna mtu ako kwa streets. Most of the guys, when you are clueless, you get. So what we are saying is, yes, there is a way forward. What is the way forward? Are we achieving the milestone? Are we achieving things like reject finance bill? Have we achieved that? We have not. So it means we are still at point zero. But the only difference at this point is the person now we are talking to is also trying to respond. You get. Last we were having a conversation, we were not responding. So the thing is, when you are, let's not go far much ahead while we are still having problems like goons in protest. That's the thing that we should make sure that tumemaliza during this time. And the reason why I was saying this is because on Thursday, which is on Thursday, tutakuwa tuna test waters. We will be testing waters with, okay, are police ready to protect? What is police ready to protect the protesters? Because we need to end the issue of the goons. That's an issue. That's a problem on its own, because it means it hijacks so many other things, and that is what the political class has been using. So we need to fix the problem as we go. But again, I'm not against us having conversation, but let's not go too far in the future without achieving the main goals that took us to the streets. Thank you.
I do have a question, which is in a suggestion, Kenya. We had actually touched on this earlier, but we didn't go deep into it. So my question was this. This thing of occupying CBD, I think it's giving the demonstrators such a large area to cover, to a point that the looters are taking advantage of that situation. So would it help if the movement focused on very specific areas? For example, you can say that tomorrow on Thursday, you occupy Biashara Street, and then Tuesday, you occupy Moi Avenue, kitu kama hiyo, so that even when you're dealing with cops, they know that the cops on Tomboya Street are not, so that the cops know that the demonstrators or the people who are on Tomboya Street, for example, are not demonstrators. Those are probably hooligans and thugs. And then they know that all these people on Moi Avenue are actually demonstrators, and they're peaceful. I mean, it's very hard. It's very hard for goons to operate, to come and infiltrate one street, for example, that demonstrators have concentrated themselves in. Are you understanding me, Kenya? Is that a practical solution?
I'm understanding that, and there is no one solution that really solves the issue of the goons. But those are some of the ideas that can be there. You get, those are some of the ideas that can be there. And then the whole aspect of the reason why you see many people are usually dispersed and everything, it's all the nature. I've been nimekuwa kwa maandamano severally, and these demos to be specifically, what was happening is gari inapita huku Moi Avenue ikisweep watu, inamaanisha imewa spread to the other side ikiwa sweep. You get, so it removes the aspect of where can people be. You get? So that's why the reason why we are suggesting, like, we're doing it as a procession. We have people who are watching on the site and even doing a live stream of what is happening. So to make sure that if there are people who are serving as the youth marshals during this, because clearly the police are not helping. You get? Then until we show police this is how it's done, then if it needs to get to that point, then we'll get to that point. Because kulikuwa na wezi, there were thieves who tried to steal during hizi maandamano, si walikuwa wanapigwa na wanapeanwa kwa polisi. It was that simple. So it means, this is not even an issue that we should really be worried about, because the nature of the maandamano, it really changes, because what watakuja wasipiwe hii side wakimbia the other side. Okay, so we need to have people who are actively in the procession and such things. So yeah, and there is no single solution to this. Every solution inaongezea, it strengthens the whole idea, yeah, how to avoid goons.
Okay, I hear you.
Thank you, Kenya.
Thanks, Kenya. I hear you. So let me try the order of the speakers. This is going to be very hard. We had Enoch. We had Geoffrey is not on the speaker panel anymore. We had Enoch. We had John. I don't even. Oh, we have Enoch and then John, and then DiCaprio. Please, mshike tu hizo nini, mshike your order, and then TMP. So yeah, in that order, kindly. Enoch. Enoch, and if you can't speak, we are going to drop you and admit other speakers. And Willie, please keep your mic muted. I'm muting you all the time. Keep your mic muted. Enoch, are you able to speak now? If you're not able to speak, Geoffrey. I don't see Geoffrey. John and then DiCaprio.
Hello? Can I
Hello.
speak?
Yes, please.
Can I be heard?
Yes, John, I can hear you.
Am I live?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, please proceed, John. Okay, so John, I'm going to drop you if you can't speak.
John
DiCaprio.
labda kama Mariam ndo akusikii, but the rest of us can hear you. Kama usikii Mariam, we can hear you. Pia kama unisikii, wacha tu drop iwe juu sasa tutasaidiana.
Okay, I think niko clear. Can I proceed?
Yeah, John.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
you can proceed.
you. Let me first start by saying I'm tuned in from Machakos, and to send my condolences to our comrades who have lost their lives. The other thing I want to say is what Mkenya was saying. We need to first, before we even start thinking of all these solutions and problems and what Ruto needs to do, we need first to deal with the problem at hand. Our protests have been turned into, in a way, to be causing chaos, to maim and destruction of property. And we know that it is not us who are peacefully demonstrating and agitating for the good things that are doing all this. Now we need to come up with a strategy whereby we are going to counter those who are infiltrating us and causing mayhem, so that in the eyes of the public, the other people who are not demonstrating, they are now seeing this is a tactic that Mr. Ruto and his cronies who summer on these spaces are trying to use, so that we are now they tarnish our names to the people who are seen as demonstrating. Let us strategize and see. For example, that way whereby we come up with marshals who have reflectors, and those reflectors are printed, and we guide our protesters. If we are going to meet at Kencom, we know everyone is meeting at Kencom. So anyone who is at any other place doing other monkey business in Luthuli, looting TV shops and clothes and whatever, those are not part of us. We need to come up with new strategies. That is one. Number two, there is this narrative that the government has been trying to spin around that, because the finance bill has not been passed, we won't be able to raise, to pay teachers and whatnot. Again, yesterday, to the shock of everyone, SRC proposes new salaries to these public servants. And guys, we have seen the knee-jerk reactions coming from the Cabinet Secretary, Public Service, the President himself, and some few politicians here saying we don't want this, including the pretender called Sifuna, saying, "No, when I came leader of minority," all this while you knew you had an ETC that had over 400,000. Is it now news to you that you have seen today you have over 370? You're coming to tell us we shouldn't buy this crap. The finance bill was a means of how they are going to raise revenue to finance their budget. Still, guys, we have the appropriation bill that gives the government the power and the authority to spend money. What we should be agitating for was total rejection of finance bill, then suspend the appropriation bill. You are not going to spend any money because as out of yesterday, you have seen the Auditor General's report, the corruption that is happening. Felix Kosgei today says we won't be able to pay our debt. We won't be able to pay our junior secondary teachers. Yet you increase the credit of Wetangula to 25,000 and a JSS teacher earns 17,000. Are we really in this country, or these people are not even listening? You have seen the corruption in NTSA, e-Citizen, NHIF, and Ministry of Agriculture. These are things that we need Mr. Ruto to act on with immediate effect, including trimming or dissolving the whole cabinet. We need to see action. We don't need to talk with him now. We need to continue pressing on with our demonstrations. Again, there is the issue of austerity measures that they are suggesting, but mark you me, these things, if they are not followed, they are not going to work, and we are going to continue seeing opulence, wastage, and intimidation from this government. The other last thing that I want you guys to focus and refocus on, yes, we want Ruto to go. Yes, we don't want his government. We don't want to talk with him. But there is one thing that deliberately he has succeeded in doing, and unless we put pressure and not believe his word, is the reforms and reconstitution of an independent IEBC. That thing that he said within 10 days is going to reconstitute, he is going, if we don't counter check what he's doing, we will end up with another Wafula Chebukati, a puppet of him who will go and do whatever he's going to do. We need people who will serve this country with integrity, and we need the IEBC reconstituted as soon as yesterday, so that we start exercising our right to recall these guys, our right to present petition, our right to review this constitution, to reduce the number of seats that we have. We are overrepresented and all that. Last and not least, let us not listen to these guys who are calling us our children. Oh, sijui we have. There is nothing they have had unless we continue with the demos and we continue being peaceful. We can even devise other strategies whereby we go and occupy the whole of Mombasa Road and Uhuru Highway and Thika Super Highway and sit there and see if they are going to send goons to come and cause mayhem on us. Because Ruto and his entire regime have fucked up this country so much. We need changes now. We need to continue, and we do not need to relent. As out of now, let us deal with the goons and devise ways of countering goons, because they are sponsored by hooligans and stupid people, academically challenged people. And I believe we are here, we are learned, and we know how we can come up with strategies to counter these goons. They want us to relent so that they continue doing what they have been doing, looting, stealing, and just wasting Kenyans. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, John. Now, a quick one to Mkenya. Going per John's suggestion of having marshals, Is that a practical solution, or does that set them up to be arrested because they are marked? That's from Kenya.
I believe it's a very practical solution in the sense that we are trying to make sure that no one tries to get it's about protecting the lives and properties. So it's really a noble cause. And the other thing is, it's not a permanent position. It's not really it's not a permanent position. It's a position of the same way the medics did. So it's not something that has like, I'll be this. No. If you know you're going for Mantamano and it's something that you'll need, use mama on the side, umeva the nini the marshals, and it helps to ensure that, because I don't think you can be arrested for ensuring people are not breaking, people are not stealing, and people are not, trying to rob each other. I don't think you can be arrested for that. It would be really absurd.
Okay, good stuff. So the only thing they need is those two reflective jackets, like the ones for boda guys. The cheapest ones go for about 200 and something shillings, right, in Kenya?
Yeah, and I'm sure the moment that is done, Kenyans can always provide that. That has, the whole thing has been supported by Kenyans. So yeah.
Okay, beautiful. That's good progress. Asante sana Mkenya. As we proceed, DiCapro and then TMP.
Hi, Miriam. Hey, McKenna. Hey, Mkenya. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks again for the opportunity. So, wanted first of all to address the issue we have up there, Ruto must go. I would want us first of all to look at the global landscape and what's been happening since COVID. There are a few things which are being implemented or which have been implemented against our farmers, against the land, and against the freedom of movement. And that is why they were trying to bring up the tax on vehicles. Since COVID, globally, starting with Australia, farmers have been attacked and their rights have been taken away. They're being forced to kill off some population of poultry. Their cattle is being taken from them. And all this is coming from the World Economic Forum. So the question I would want us to ask ourselves, how did this end up in Kenya? Is it because Ruto has been greedy and he's making friends with people like Bill Gates? Or is this the influence of Ndi, who has worked for global bodies like the UN? What is happening here is people are trying to tell us to wait for 2027, which is in itself a red herring, because according to the plans of the World Economic Forum, they plan to have an enslaved world by 2030. So the chances of us waiting for 2027 and having an election is likely not going to happen. This guy is going to hold his seat to the end of time or until his Western masters no longer need him. We need to look at the global landscape and the fact that Russia last month also announced that the biolabs that were in Ukraine have been moved to Africa. And the likely candidate for that would be Kenya, because of every other global body wants to focus on Kenya. And he was mentioned that he wants to vaccinate our cows, which is in line with what WEF is doing in the West. Related to Kenya and how we can move forward if we accomplish what we are fighting for, which is Ruto must go. I had an idea of, am I being heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can
Okay,
hear you.
sorry. Sorry if I'm going too fast. This is my idea. If we accomplish the goal we have here, is we would need industry leading leaders, people who are taken from industry, who can maybe enter into politics, or we call it something else, management of industry, from farming to infrastructure to everything else. We have people from industry with track records of success there. And on Kenya's idea, I had it from yesterday's space of marshals protecting protesters from those who are looting. I fully support that. And the idea of sitting on the ground if people come. The whole idea of changing days or giving them time to re-strategize is a complete no. You cannot give a dragon time to wake up again once it's down. You have to ensure it's done by all means. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, DiCaprio. I appreciate that. TMP, are you ready to speak?
Yes, I am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So first I want to send my condolences to all that lost their loved ones, and then say hi to everyone who's here today. I'm quite, I don't know, a little bit tense. I haven't been to many spaces, but I've been listening to many of them, and I don't know, I have a couple of suggestions. So first of all, is the question that is tagged after Ruto must go. And I don't know, I really hope you're all going to give me time fast to finish everything. You don't rule it out fast. And for me, I'm quite opposed to that. Yet I believe still there is a chance for all of us to make change. And we need it right now because like many speakers have been saying, like 254, Mukenya, Shah, DiCaprio, like what Shah said, you cannot let it die because this is our chance to get the change that we really need in this country. Otherwise, I mean, we're gonna sit for so long waiting for things to change. So my first suggestion is I am agreeing with them on what they've said about having protests being done in a different way. And I don't know, yes, the way most of them have requested, maybe we can have protests organized and marshals and all of that. We can get the legal team to confirm if having marshals is going to put them at a risk or it can be allowed. Because so far so good, we've seen the protests, they've been well organized, you know, medics, journalists, people have been volunteering, and just the whole system, a whole app came up, I mean, and a whole USSD code. That was really brilliant, I mean, and that shows that we can really do a lot, and even getting the international community to have eyes right now. So this is our chance, I believe so. So the protest, I would suggest maybe like we can identify the areas that are wrong. That is, for instance, the education sector that is not working, the new model for universities, the new school program. I've seen they reduced the money, you know. It's quite ridiculous, honestly, and teachers are not being employed. And hii mchezo ya taoni is just so ridiculous. I think we're that dumb. So it's annoying. You know, sometimes you get on Twitter and I've been seeing people joking at inaingia online, kichwa inaanza kuuma. It's very true. It's annoying, honestly, seeing that, you know, after having sat for so long waiting for change and, you know, they just keep playing like it's a game. It's not a game. It's a matter of our life. So maybe ministries, I don't know if that is an area that is protected where people are not allowed. So for ministries, for instance, and for the first meeting of protest, maybe we can have the marshals and then people discuss issues in all the counties that people went, because it would be ridiculous of me staying in where I am staying at to talk about issues of a county or a place that I've never been at. I don't understand the tiny things that they're going through. So have those meetings without including them. I mean, the young people have been coordinated so far, so good. You can have meetings, the way people are saying, sit down here with placards and then host meetings where everyone contributes what is wrong and, you know, suggestions of how to fix this according to their county. Because if we're fixing everything, we're not fixing at the top alone. Because it's useless to fix at the top, yet even at the bottom, it's cracked. The money, everything, and even the budget to be itemized. You know, sometimes I look at the budget and I'm like, okay, well then, that is why we'll have this thing of politicians leaving office and still coming back, you know, Adafanya up to 4 years. Almost the last year they campaigned with elect me so that I can finish my previous projects, and it's ridiculous. Because after all that time, they've sat on money, no development. So if the budgets are also itemized on the particulars that every county wants, every place, what is it they want fixed in the education sector, in the health sector, in the manufacturing sector, you know, so that, because, you know, sometimes I sit down and wonder if all of us as Kenyans,
TMP,
yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, TMP. Give us the main points, like in the briefest way, because we have a lot of people waiting to speak.
Okay.
But I do appreciate your points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Sorry. So there is that we can have discussions in different counties, and also there are policies that usually are set up, but they're not usually implemented. So we can hold the government accountable. So after having those discussions, we can draft what is it we want fixed and the solutions that we want. And then after that, now we can the areas that are not restricted, like let's say Ministry of Industry, if it's not a restricted area, you can go and present what it is that is wanted from the Kenyan youth, so that at the end of the day we're able to, because right now we're having this old argument, but we're not we don't have like a particular item of what we want fixed. So, and at the end of the day, I believe all these problems are literally solvable, so we can push for
TMP, we've lost you. Kenya, can you hear TMP?
I think we lost her. I can't hear her neither. Maybe the next speaker can go on.
Okay, TMP, sorry, you have to probably drop. We've lost you. We had Victor, and then differently, and then Lucky, sorry, and then differently abled.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and I'm Kenya, and pleased to be on this platform. And first off, my condolences to the Kenyans who have lost their lives during this period. And for those who are still in hospital recovering, we wish them quick recovery. I'm really happy to find ourselves here as a country, much as we have lost our colleagues, but the consciousness of a nation has been awakened. I think for a long, long time, I always looked forward for that day. I didn't know much of it would come in my lifetime, but to see that we have arrived at a place where we can speak to the issues of our country in a way that is more united more than ever before. I think that makes me proud as a person. And I think we must now begin to think of how do we move this forward. I think those are questions that we are grappling with. How do we sustain this long term? And I think we need also to define our objectives as a people, as a country, long term, short term, because some of them will be achieved now, some of them will need to be a way that influences how we also mobilize as a country. Because I think where we have had so many problems is how.
Oh, we've lost you. Victor, can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Proceed. You are
Yes. So traditionally, the way we have mobilized politically is what has ended up giving the sort of national leadership that we sometimes get. So I think this new beginning, I would call it, we should be allowed to inform our national discourse. I think our problems do not end with an election cycle. To believe or imagine that we are going to change some of these characters come 2027 and our problems will go, I think it's to be naive. We've seen how reincarnation of bad politicians happen every time there's an election cycle. So let's have this as a continuing discourse. Let's have a nation that speaks with itself without necessarily being boxed into what traditionally.
Victor, we've lost you again. Victor, we've lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
You keep coming in and out.
Okay, sorry. I think my network might not be very steady, but I think as I land, I like to encourage, I think for those who will be participating in the demonstration, I like the idea of the marshals, and also let's also try and build a positive relationship with the media, both local and international, so that they can, you see, it's what is sent out there that transforms, or the messaging of these activities that will help us enlist more and more Kenyans on our side. We need more people. We need people to understand that, yes, we are in a difficult place, but yes, we have realized where we are and we really want to move forward as a nation, as a people. So let's define our strategic objectives, short term and long term, so that we know by the peaceful protest, I think we are going to achieve a certain things, and ensuring that this is sustained long term. We are also going to ensure that
Hello,
we
can you hear
have
me?
a process that helps us chart a national discourse on the issues that affect us as a nation. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Asante sana, Victor. I do appreciate you. Please, guys, don't unmute your mic when someone is speaking, because it brings a lot of feedback and we're not able to hear somebody's submission very clearly. So we have differently abled.
Yes, hi guys. Thanks
Oh,
for the
sorry. Do we
space.
still have? No, we don't have Lucky anymore. Okay, good. Differently abled. And if possible, for the guys who are coming up to the speaker panel, if possible, when you're opening your submission, please, maybe you can give us suggestions on how tomorrow's mandamano demonstrations can go on smoothly, if possible, kindly. Thanks, differently.
And also, Mariam, I think maybe we keep it to maybe maximum 4 minutes because there are a lot of people requesting to speak. So yeah, please let's not spend too much time.
Okay, so thanks for the space, guys. And am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So I would like also to encourage people not to lose hope, but I also want to encourage people to be strategic, because when dealing with certain things, it's also good not to involve too much emotion and to understand the situation at hand. The situation at hand in terms of protest is that there are businesses in town that are not doing well. There are businesses which are suffering. And there are people who see these demonstrations as destructive, as much as people are trying to push the government to do the right thing. Being strategic means you understand your situation, you understand there are certain things that you can do at certain times and there are certain things you can't do at certain times. Okay, I put on the German throne some list of issues of concern. I call them the 12-point plan. One of the things, you can look at it and see if it makes sense, but it's up to modification. You can modify, you can add, you can do whatever. But for me, I think there are some things I've missed. There's some things I know I've missed. There's some things which maybe I'd remove. But I would say that going forward, people need to strategize on how to be more strategic, how to beat the system. The system cannot be beat by emotions. So you need to look at techniques you can use, like reject the finance bill. That hashtag, it was such a perfect thing because people knew it was such an achievable thing. You see, one thing government is most governments are incapable of doing is actually building stuff. When they go to parliament, they can make a law against something. They can ban this, they can ban that. And I remember even at a time, I don't know if it was COVID time, they used to make a lot of laws banning stuff, banning this, banning that. And if you look at the 12-point plan, it talks about number 7, number 8 talks about Motudo laws, having a 24 economy, the way you can't have a 24 economy and you have Motudo laws at the same time. So you need to, if you want to create taxes for government, you need to get rid of some laws. So the government work usually is a very lazy and inefficient organization. It doesn't make sense also. But they are very good at banning things and maybe unbanning things, not necessarily building anything, you know. So when you go to government, understand giving them too much work to do, it's like they'll just look at you and say, whatever. But if you tell them something like, we want demand like reject finance bill, then they reject it. Then you look at another point which is of issue, you say reject the land bill, then they reject it. Then you look for something like maybe IEBC, you need IEBC. That's also a challenge to them because now it takes some work, but it's something achievable and something constitutional, something they see that in governmental organization, it will also make them look bad not having an electoral commission. Also for the protest, if you are going to protest, understand that the ground is hostile even to the Gen Z movement in terms of how the business community is organizing and how other goons are infiltrated. So the best thing to have is maybe have like the way they did in, is it Egypt, the Tahrir Square, whereby you have a location whereby this is a freedom spot. Like they know anytime guys are going to be here, when they say they are going to be here, and you occupy it. And occupying something is like when you occupy it, you don't leave. Kuna watu wa night shift, kuna watu wa mchana. So if you're going to have you want to push something, you occupy that sector, an area whereby you're not infiltrating too much on businesses, and people will, even if they are supporting you, and even if they don't support you, they'll say, okay, these guys there, they organized, maybe you have your own kamukunjis there, you discuss, you even find out, you talk to each other, you even meet each other on the ground, so that you can form the movement based on maybe a political movement, if you want to go that way for 2027, or if you want to give the country more direction. And in future, people will look at you and say, okay, these guys, at least even if they were demonstrating, they were occupying a certain area, they didn't disrupt our business, they didn't cause any havoc. And if there's havoc that will happen, it'll be maybe on another side of town, and you can disown it and say that was not us. So it's also being safe, being strategic, being smart, and also understand that you are up against a very, very intelligent system, a very, very conniving system, and the person who is leading the country probably does not have the best interest at heart, but you also have to understand it's also giving him like a win-win, nipe nikupe, that kind of a deal. So even the country understands, even the nation understands, the government understands, you are giving something and they have to give something. So it's give and take also relationship. So also when you are making a demand, make a demand that's also beneficial to government, so that they can also see you are a reasonable person. Because some of the demands, if you say, like the
Remember,
title, Ruto must go.
differently able. Remember, 4 minutes. I think McKenna, you are the one who's on the timer.
Yeah. Let me just wind up.
Okay.
So for the statement, Ruto must go, I would say, be strategic, because if you have the numbers, you have the numbers, it's achievable. But if you're trying to build numbers, you need to start with low hanging fruit. Give him this to do. If he fails, give him something else to do. He fails, give him another thing to do. Very small achievable things. Fire this guy, do this, reshape this, do this. Very targeted points, whereby if he fails like 12 or 10 times, you just say, now you have failed, there's nothing we are discussing, so you must go. So that is like the climax. So don't start with the climax, start with these small achievable points where you tell government, we want this, and stick on it. Thanks.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, differently able. Yes, McKenna. You wanted to comment? We have Metros coming up next, and then Adonis is missing, Kenny is missing, Enoch. Is Enoch here? Yes, we have Metros and then Enoch.
All right. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. First of all, my condolences to our Gen Z who lost their lives, and may God bless their families. So, mine is just to say, I don't know, I may not be able to give suggestions about tomorrow how to counter the protesters, because I was during the last protest, I was in town, and what I saw there, I think if you really think that you're going to counter them with, you talked about reflector jackets and all that, I think these guys are well funded, And unlike the Gen Z, the genuine protesters, these are criminals. Let's just be realistic. They are criminals, they are armed, and what they were doing, because I saw actually that there are some people who had organized themselves with batons.
Metros, we've lost you.
Can you can hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we are losing you. Metros, when
Okay.
you are continuing, let me just throw in something. Just mute your mic, Kidogo, please.
Okay.
Let me throw in something. So I want to throw in something in terms of when we say and make a statement like Ruto must go. I think it's more, let's put it, it's more of a symbolic statement. When we say Ruto must go, we are telling Ruto, go, wake up, go and fix the country, go fix our country. That's the kind of conversation we are having. Okay, because we are not driving. It's a conversation that is very strategic. When we are telling, it's a conversation. It's something that makes Ruto uneasy. It's something that Ruto needs to understand. With the one thing that is achievable is when Ruto must go is packaged with all the other issues that we are coming. Because when we said reject finance bill, it's too shallow. It is too shallow when we have so many issues. Then when we target the head, then things are fixed from the head. Simlasemanga, the fish rots from the head. Ruto must go is more of like a symbolic conversation of Ruto, wake up, go and fix this country that we are having. That's the conversation we are having. Ruto is too comfortable. The people around Ruto are too comfortable, and they've become don't cares. You get, they don't really care. So we need to have that thing that, what is that thing that will make Ruto unease? What is that thing that will make Ruto start thinking? What is that thing that will make Ruto start acting? Because you need to understand, Ruto, wake up and go. We are not pushing. We can parade all our issues, reconstitute IBC, sijui futa Linturi, futa Nyakiminja. There are so many issues. You get, there's so many issues. So when you're having this conversation of Ruto must go, it's Ruto, wake up, go and fix the country. Fix the country. He is there to do a certain work that we sent him to do. That's the whole conversation. It's a very symbolic conversation. It's a conversation that makes Ruto unease. It's a conversation that makes people around Ruto unease. Targeting Linturi, it's neither here nor there. Because you'll target Linturi, Nyakumincha will be there stealing. Murkomen will be there asking for 700 billion or million for I don't know for what. That's the thing that has been happening. Either someone will be in the parliament stealing. So when Ruto must go is a conversation that makes Ruto unease. It's the conversation that tells Ruto, go and fix the country. It's a very symbolic conversation. It's not a conversation that does not have unachievable things. It's a conversation that has achievable goals. When we are in the streets, and I'm liking suggestions of, can we have a meeting, a square point of meeting? That's a good conversation. It's a good conversation, because if all the demonstrators are at a certain place, unafanya nini downtown? Unafanya nini downtown kwa shops za watu? You get, it's something that we can do. We can take the conversation somewhere else. People need to see it. We need to be there. We need to be heard. So, but the issue of, sorry, Paul, I just wanted to throw that in. It's a very symbolic and a very achievable thing, because the fish in a rod from the head. Every other problem we are having because Ruto is relaxed. Ruto alisha lala. Ruto is not calling for shots anymore. Alisha aka-relax na akaanza to make deals hapa na pale. He needs to wake up from that. Thank you.
Okay, brother. Okay, thank you. I hope I'll redeem the time, my time. Okay. I hear you, and actually, it's very fair. And mine is just an appeal and a suggestion at the same time. Remember, after the protest, the media had a roundtable with the president, and we saw how it went. Actually, kudos to the media, because they really stepped up to the plate. Now, is it prudent that the Gen Z now, in the context of that protest, that you also have a round table with the media? Forget about, because you've done endless talks with the media before, and but this one now, it has to be really special. And then, because the Gen Z has, actually, I really like the fact that the Gen Z have said that they do not, that you do not have a leader, because we all know what happens when, because you remember the president ran to the media and said, okay, now Gen Z, please nominate 2 people. You know, that's how they do, because they always want these organized opposition so that they can compromise them. In which way? Because they pick the leaders and isolate them and then compromise them, you know, and so many other things that could go wrong. But if we can have the Gen Z have these very radical communication through the media, by via sitting down with that same media and then now articulating exactly and giving ultimatums, so that that communication should be formalized, so that everybody else, because remember, as Gen Z, we are actually as millennials and others there, we are following your lead somehow, because as much as we are trying to have this moderating influence together with the media, but again, your communication, a formal communication through the media, is what we are going to act upon, so that everybody can know that this is the stand. Yes, I'm not going to say the protests should not go on. Let them go on. But again, if possible, again, going forward, because of the infiltration by even those same politicians who have paid all these protesters, and you know, they can, because they don't, some don't want this government to succeed, others don't want this movement to succeed. So we have this mixture of people who are up to no good. So if going forward we can reimagine these protests, I will not say how, because you said that we provide suggestions, but let me just pose a question. How many vehicles, or how many the commuters, how many commuters go through Jogoo Road every day? That's our question. If you have mwenye akili, piga hiyo hesabu. How many commuters and vehicles go through Mombasa Road? Mombasa Road, we don't have shops that can be destroyed as much as we have those downtown. I pose that question. That's okay. 7 good solid days. I leave it at that. But all I'm saying is that let us not have this outrage in isolation, because you see, now the government has gone ahead and started to say, now, you know, because they know that now the MPs now are making these pronouncements. Now suddenly they have this sudden conscious attack. Now they have this consciousness. Now, you know what, we don't want this salary increment because the people are suffering. But there before they could not say that. Were it not for this protest, they could not have come up with such talks. So it seems that the government and the parliament, they have already gone ahead now to move away from these protests and this very uncomfortable incident that occurred to them. Now they are trying to say, okay, now let's do this. Let's do away with this. Let's go do this. Now let's cut this spending because of the mwananchi is suffering. So now the reason why I said about a sit down with the media.
Metros, start landing, please.
Okay, all right. You saying?
You need to land and give an opportunity for others to speak.
Yeah, okay. But I thought somebody else took my. Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
It's been minutes now.
Thanks for having me. Okay.
No, you can make your last point.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So my last point was that let us also, as the government now is trying to go forward and to show the country that now we are making things right. Let us also strike while the iron is hot, that we can also have this communication through the media also, and get ourselves word out that this is what we want, A, B, C, D, because it will also work out. I don't know what you guys think, but that is just my submission and a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Metros. I appreciate that. We had, sorry, McKenna, did you want to add something before I call the next speaker? Okay.
Not really. I just wanted to thank him for his submission.
There is something else
beautiful.
to kutopa kidogo. Let's get out the idea of there is anyone who wants the government to fail. Let's not approach the conversation from that point, because again, now that brings the divide. We start bringing other people like, oh, Uhuru Kenyatta is funding this, Sijui Rigathi is funding this, or Sijui Azimio. Then it breaks us, it divides us, it derails us from the main conversation. There shouldn't be any emotional attachment between us and and the government. Let's understand that our leaders are there to represent us. It shouldn't be an idea of at Sasa we want Ruto to fail. I wouldn't want Ruto to fail. Like, I mean, I'm from Sekuru. I was literally, I think, the only person really going hard campaigning for Ruto in Sekuru. He did not get many votes in Sekuru, but out of the 1,200 Alipata in Sekuru, I'm sure mine counts, plus other people that I might have tried to influence, despite where I come from, nini and everything. So let's stop your emotional attachment. You're
hello guys. I don't know if you can hear me.
Skipper, can you hear Mkenya? Mkenya is speaking.
Yeah, Nini, just a minute. Sorry, but if I'm belaboring the point, all I wanted to say is no one is for the government failing. To do that notion, we want the government, we want this government to win. You get so your idea ya people coming and then wanze kusema sasa now that italeta divide, then you start saying mtoto wetu Mkalenjin wanataka fail. No, then we start having the divide, the political divide. Then now the political kingpins start rising again, and we already done with that. Let's get to tackle issues. No one wants the government to fail. It is the government that is not doing what it's supposed to do. That should be the conversation. Msifikirie we want the government to fail. That's what I wanted to say. To do your conversation, huko, no one wants the government to fail. Now, and I'm sure if they wanted the government to fail, there is no way they are going to succeed. But let the government serve the people. Then the people will decide. It's a democratic country. That's all. I really supported this government with all I could. I really did. You won't believe what we did, some of us.
Thank you, Mkenya, for that clarification. And I hope everyone will stay on course in the conversation. We go to Enoch, and then Ken Mutwiri, and then Abu.
Hello, good evening. I hope you can get me clearly.
Yes, you're clear.
Thank you. First and foremost, let me begin by honoring the souls of the departed fighters who left us in the line of duty. For sure, we must recognize them. And my wish is that may their souls not rest in peace, but go after their killers each day and night. The hashtag is Ruto must go. That is the biggest topic. But then we have to look at the bigger picture, which is here. I know most of us are familiar with the Constitution, and to some of us who may be not familiar with it, just for general knowledge, we should be in a position to know that if the president resigns, because we want Ruto to go, if the president resigns, automatically it's the DP who resumes the office. And then that could not be a good idea after sending Ruto home, because these are just birds of the same feather. Another option is that if the president goes and the deputy president is not in a position to occupy the office, it's the Speaker of the National Assembly who takes over for a period of 60 days, after which he chooses the IEBC official will be taking over the re-election. So looking at this broader picture, as at the moment, we are not in a position to go that way, because even speaking, as at the moment, the IEBC is not in a position to hold an election, owing the fact that the holders in the office are the same people who have been there and they failed us long time ago. Now we have to at this point we have to look on a best way of doing our movement. One, because the anti-government protest now is taking another dimension, and goons maybe because definitely those who have been vandalizing properties, looting, they cannot be the Gen Zs. We are people with brains. We know what we are doing. We know what we want for our government. So people are taking advantage of this to confuse the movement and to paint us bad picture, a bad image, and in the long run we might end up losing if the same continues. A good reason why we managed our way into the parliament during the mother demonstration, a good reason is because it was an ambush. We were well planned and we had our secrets, and we did it with much power and commitment, and at least it went down in history. But after that, what happened? The government has strategized, and that's why going to the street after that had to be much tactical. And we in the process we've been losing lives. We've not been heard, and it's like it's now becoming noise. So we want to give it another dimension. At this point, I think the best idea is to tactically withdraw, and then it doesn't. When you tactically withdraw, it doesn't mean that you're a loser. It's simply because you are retreating and you're strategizing to come back even stronger than before. You are retreating and strategizing to come back stronger than before, so that if you had pushed to 50%, we're going to push it to 70%. And because we don't want a bad image on our names as youths of this country, it is possible for us to do it peacefully, as we've been doing it until the goons came in. So to do a peaceful protest, we will have to identify ourselves as the Gen Zs by having identifiers. So far we had clothes.
McKenna, you're keeping the time, I hope, still.
So far we had clothes which were black and white, and I think let me just wind up. We need more identifiers, so that as we will be doing the peaceful protest, the police officers will not be running after us, but they will be protecting us, to identify us from the goons and people who are ready to take our agenda to another dimension which we are not ready for. That is what I was trying to say. Thank you.
So Enoch, in your opinion, for how long should people retreat?
We can retreat for the shortest time possible, as we think on the best way of coming back to the field stronger people. Going back to the protest tomorrow can be too soon, because we've not planned ourselves better, and we were just from the field the other day. We don't have any good plans so far, so good. So let us have identifiers as a plan, so that we are going to identify ourselves from the goons. That is one. Then two, what are we going to do so that we can be heard? Are we going to have our banners? We want to channel. It is now time to channel our grievances before we can lose the grounds.
So don't you think when we retreat to strategize, the government will be doing the same, and the goons and the politicians who are funding goons to interrupt the peaceful protests?
As we are retreating, we are strategizing by identifiers, so that we are not going to work with the goons again. That is one thing we are doing in the course of retreatment. And we want to do it as fast as possible. And we are not coming to fight against them. We are coming back to air our grievances, so that we can be heard. We want it that by the end of all these protests, our agenda, we managed to push our agenda, and at least a change was made in the nation in the name of our protest.
Hi.
All right, thank you, Enoch. Mariam, who was next?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Enoch. We had Kemi, please be patient. Please
Okay.
just mute your mic.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have
Sorry.
order.
I'm sorry.
So it's okay. We have Ken Mutwiri and then Abu.
All right, thank you.
Ken Mutwiri, are you there? I can see your hand is raised. Ken Mutwiri, if you've lost the mic, I'm going to have to drop you. Abu, are you available?
Yes, can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Mohammed. I would like to add also my voice on the subject of discussion on my team on JZs and as well Millennium. I think the protest has currently taken a little bit a new dimension and has changed quite a number of our programs as prescribed earlier. It has taken some direction that there's an infiltration of, I think, some goons. I think as a team, we need to re-strategize and reinvent a new strategy so that we can be able to have a more objective kind of protest. Well, I think it's well documented in the Constitution that we need to have a demonstration and we need to raise our grievances as challenges that we have with the current government. I think we have been failed by the current politicians. We're all of us suffering. And we need to have a structured kind of discussion. And going forward, let's have a way that we can be able to address our grievances. I think I'll be very brief. Among the to raise is let us have a situation where we identify a specific meeting point, like let us say a certain point whereby we can be able to have a rally there, have a discussion, raise our issues without harming or maybe creating any animosity with our other fellow Kenyans. Because the scenes we have been seeing some few days ago has really diverted our main objective of this particular protest. And I think personally, I will not be able to be part and parcel of a group of goons who have been organized by politicians or maybe themselves to come and loot and hit economically Kenyans who are really hardworking and peaceful, what do you call Kenyans? I think that one we should be able to be very careful with it. We also need to be organized. I think we need to back our leaders and we need to have a structured discussion. As I have earlier said, I want to be very brief, and I think that is the points I'm going to raise. Many thanks.
Thank you. I wanted to actually ask Mkenya. I think he's dropped, but he's going to come back. What's the challenge when it comes to your suggestion of people congregating in one place? I think it's been a challenge for them, and I wanted to know from Kenya himself, what's the challenge in that? So I'm hoping Kenya will come back and respond to that. But thank you. Thanks a lot, Abu. Ken Mutwiri, I saw your back. No, Ken Mutwiri is losing his network. We have Ronnie and then Mumbi. Ken Mutwiri,
Okay.
do you have the speaker? Ken
Thank you
Mutwiri,
very
can
much.
you hear me? Oops, sorry. Makena, you can speak and then Ken Mutwiri will come up next.
Yeah, looks like he's got connection issues. So I wanted to bring to attention something I just saw online so that you know where the problem is. Peter Salasia, who was elected less than 2 years ago to parliament, has just posted his payslip. Minus all the deductions, his take home is about 2,000 Kenyan shillings. But this guy has already built houses in his constituency. He flies almost every weekend, takes private helicopters, doing harambes, and we all know his lifestyle. But after all the deductions, he only takes home 2,000. So I posted a question on his post that he made a few minutes ago and asked, how do you sustain your lifestyle? Are you surviving on CDF? And he told me he does business. So I'm wondering, what kind of business is he doing?
Point to ponder. Huyo lazima tumuone kando. Interesting. And I also had some senator complaining about a new member of parliament who has bought choppers. Very interesting also. And I wonder why the government can't do lifestyle audits on such people. So yeah, McKenna.
Mariam,
McKenna,
I was to answer McKenna. Mariam, I was to answer McKenna and
no,
say,
do me a
just,
favor,
just
6,000. You're on the queue. Do me a favor. The people who've been waiting for such a long time, and I don't want to skip them. Just hold on to that response. You're going to give it to McKenna. But for now, we have Ken Mutwiri. Ken Mutwiri, are you okay now? And then Ronnie, and then Mumbi.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think I'm audible.
Yes.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes.
So I was asking those who are saying that we retreat this early, whereas we can see people like CS na Kumicha bado wako kwa ofisi. This medical insurance is still in office. They have looted our money. Unaona mtu like this I don't know anaitwa the Kimilili member of parliament. The Kimilili member of parliament. This baraza jamaa amechaguliwa tu juzi, saizi ako na helicopter, still looting our money. So to retreat sioni I let any sense. So tomorrow bado we are in the street, very energetic.
Ken Mutwiri, are we together really? You sound like
Yeah.
you're multitasking a lot.
We are together. So
just for the benefit of the people who are planning to be on the street tomorrow, Kenya had directed this conversation towards how are you going to make the demos effective in such a way that the looters and the hooligans will not infiltrate it.
ours is that we will just be very peaceful. Like for me, I will be, mimi nitakuwa kwa street bado, very peaceful. Kama kuna kitu naweza beba, just a bottle of water, my phone, nivalie maski yangu. Kama nitakuwa na placard, I will carry, and nothing else. Very peaceful, very peaceful. I think I've answered you.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you. Totally understood that.
So what we are going to do is that we should not lose hope. Tuko karibu kufika. Hizi mambo unaona, I don't know, like goons, government is sponsoring goons to come and just disrupt peaceful protesters. We should not relent. Let us keep our course on. Bando, tutafika mahali. Because vile tunaendelea kufinya, ndio like today morning, we have seen the members of parliament and those cabinet secretaries walikuwa waongezewe mshahara, but wamekataa. But kama hatungekuwa tumeongea, still wangeongezewa, hata ingekuwa public, hata ingejua. So we should not keep quiet, tusikue kama wazazi wetu. Let us not fear, let us be very courageous until we finish our course, mpaka tumalizie mahali tunataka kufika. The Ruto must go. It's still on until he fires all how much yes until I remove these CS's positions mpaka zitolewe.